Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Alari Lifestyle, a luxury online art gallery and fashion boutique where I sell original Afro-feminine art and fashion. So, my name is Odemi Pesu, and if you can't tell from my name, I am of Nigerian descent. My family immigrated from Nigeria, and this cultural foundation influences a lot of my work. I have been getting a lot of questions about what is my inspiration behind my art, where do I kind of like receive these visions that I end up translating into my paintings, and why is it so important that I tell the specific stories that I am telling through my art. So there's so many answers to those questions, but in particular today I want to talk about one unique source of inspiration that is infused within all of my art pieces, and that is Ifa spiritual philosophy. So if you are unfamiliar with Afro-Indigenous religions, especially those that originated in West Africa, Ifa is an Afro-Indigenous religion. It is a spiritual practice as well as a spiritual philosophy. So I kind of liken it to Taoism, where it's more like a lifestyle, but there are spiritual practices. And even though I don't practice Ifa, a lot of the elements of Ifa spiritual philosophy do influence how I move through the world and what I choose to create. So if you are someone who you've looked on the gallery on alarilifestyle.com, which I highly recommend you do, and you're considering like, what does this mean? Why should I feel spiritually and emotionally moved by this? I think this video will be for you, because I really want collectors of my work to understand that when I made these pieces, I mean, there's specific pieces behind me. I'm in my studio. So this piece is Force of Nature, and this is River's Girl, and then I Want a Breakthrough down here. And when I think of Ifa, I think especially of this one concept, Ori Orun. And your Ori Orun is your higher self. It is that self that is aligned with God consciousness. It is that version of yourself, that inner self that is in the image of God. And we all have that. And I think it's very important that I infuse and embed Afro-Indigenous spiritual beliefs into my work, because a very huge part of colonialism and imperialism, and then furthermore the slave trade, was to condition Black people, condition African people to believe that they lack a soul. And I think when I was especially making Force of Nature, which is the cover of my first book, I was thinking about how I view myself as a woman, because for me, when I talk about God, when I think about God, I'm not thinking about some white man floating in the sky, looking down on me and judging me. Like, that is not what I think of when I think of God. And what I love about Afro-Indigenous spirituality, especially in Ifa, you have deities like Oshun, right? A lot of mythology, Greek mythology and African mythology and folklore also goes into my work, but we can talk about that another time. But when I think of someone like Oshun, like a deity like Oshun, I think about African women as powerful, sensual, and sovereign. And I think that in my head, when I think of God, I don't really actually believe that God has a gender, to be quite honest. I believe that God is an energy, an entity beyond anything that we as humans could define. And I do think that it's interesting to bring that essence of spirituality into my work, because the energy I want my collectors to feel when they bring my work into their space is that of connectivity to the higher realms, connectivity to our divine creator, and to feel grounded in the knowing that we were created in the image of God, and we have God consciousness and God's love and light flowing through us. Like, it is innate. It is not something that we have to chase, nor is it something that we have to bargain for. It is something that is innate to us. And I think another reason why I look to the stories and the philosophies of Ifa spiritual philosophy is African people were the first people on earth. Like, life originated in Africa. And it's always kind of, even when I was younger, it always confused me that the first people on earth would need Oyinbo people to leave their continent to come and bring us closer to God. Like, how that work? How does that work that the first people on earth need colonizers to come and help them be close to God? Like, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. And I think because the discourse about Afro-Indigenous spirituality has certainly evolved, I started seeing the discourse evolve around the time that Miss Beyonce, Giselle Knowles Carter, when she dropped her music video, I think it was for, oh man, the song from Lemonade where she was in the yellow dress and like banging shit up. When she dropped that video, a lot of discourse examined her inspiration from Oshun. And I think when you look at a lot of the symbolism, especially even in the piece behind me, where I have a woman liberated, you know, just opening her heart to the sun, to the moon, to the cosmos, to the heavenly realms, to download love and peace and joy into her, and she's emerging from the water. I think a lot of that imagery from Beyonce's video, and just also the stories of Oshun. If you want me to go deeper into this subject matter, I totally can. I just want to kind of keep it at a high level because I do want to speak more about where my art comes from. It's not just me trying to draw a pretty picture. I really do believe that the people who have collected my art thus far and the people who will collect my art in the near future and in the future, I want them to feel the presence of God. I want them to feel connected to their Oreo rune when they look at my art. And I think that especially for African people across the diaspora, we are inundated with so many dogmas, so much doctrine that tries to separate us from the knowledge of who we are as African people. And this isn't to say that you have to be African to collect my art. This is not saying that at all. However, I do think that as an Afro-Indigenous woman, I'm Ishikiri and Ijaw, and my people literally are known for our connection to the water because we are based in the Niger Delta. Ifa tells us that we are connected to nature. I do think it is very important to keep those beliefs and those stories alive within our hearts and within our souls, because we do have souls as Black people. We do have souls as African people. Like, we don't need the white man to come and tell us like, yeah, I'm gonna bring you to God, because look at the world. I want you to pause momentarily. Just take a second and look at the world. Look at who is wreaking havoc. Look at who is polluting our waters. Look at who is enacting violence against vulnerable people. My art honoring Afro-Indigenous spirituality is a form of peaceful resistance for me. My dad, I remember growing up, he would always say, Ojami, you're Ishikiri. We were never enslaved, okay? Like, don't take on that mindset of subservience to white people, to this idea that African people are somehow below the rest of the world. And so that's really what I just wanted to come on here and say, to give some added context to the symbolism and the imagery that is very consistent in all of my work. You will see African women presented as these majestic, beautiful, godlike beings, because prior to colonialism, prior to imperialism, that is what we had. Those were the images of God that we had. The African woman was never created to be this quintessential oppressed being. Like, that was never in our stories. That was never in our folklore. And furthermore, we as African women have so much power to attract love and to attract light to us. Like, there's one specific story in Ifa, and then I'm gonna wrap this up, of Oshun, where she needed to retrieve a god who had gotten upset, and he went into the forest, and none of the other deities were able to go and get him. And so what she did was she went, but she didn't chase, she danced, and she had, you know, her honey, and she just was able to attract him with the sweet essence of her dancing and just her presence alone. And so that is a story that I draw a lot of inspiration from, especially in a world that tells us we have to chase, we have to toil, we have to struggle, we have to strive. Like, it is so beautiful to have these stories and these reminders to show us as African women that no, actually, like, we have something innate within us that is powerful and magnetic enough to attract the blessings and that which we seek in this life to us. And that is what I want my collectors to feel. The African women who have my art in their home, I want you to be reminded of that. When you see Force of Nature, I want you to be reminded that you are connected to all that is, that you were created in the image of God. You are God consciousness, living and breathing with beautiful skin, beautiful features. I just want you to know that you have a right to honor your spiritual sovereignty. You have a right to honor your sensual sovereignty, because that's another thing. I went over so much in this video and I'm happy to dive deeper, but I really do want to be more forthright about the inspirations that are embedded in my artwork, because this is a decolonial practice for me. It is not just, oh, you know, I want to be cute and make pretty pictures. Like, yes, that too. I do feel that beauty is a birthright. I do want to bring beauty and vibrant elegance into the spaces of the collectors who gravitate towards my work and who, you know, support my artistry by collecting. However, I just want to make sure that the message behind it all is not lost. So if this resonated with you, if you are someone who is really deeply inspired by Afro-Indigenous spirituality and folklore and mythology, then I really believe that you will enjoy browsing the Alari Lifestyle Art Gallery, and I highly encourage you to collect a piece. Like, you know, bring this energy into your space. It really does make a difference. I cannot stress how much my life has transformed just by waking up and being able to be surrounded by these images of Afro-feminine power, elegance, vibrance, and sovereignty. And so I just want to send y'all so much love, so much joy, so much light. Thank you so much for being with me, spending time with me, watching this video, hearing me talk about my inspirations. And I will be back with more content. I will be sharing more about my art pieces and doing some deeper dives into individual pieces. So if you want to stick around for that, I highly encourage you to go ahead and click the subscribe button. And if you liked this video and you want to see more content like this, definitely give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about and what Afro-Indigenous spirituality means to you. It is definitely something I love to talk about. And so let me know if you want me to talk more about my cultural background and just like African spirituality in general. And I will talk to y'all in the next one. Bye.